2021 was quite the year for a lot of reasons, but of course I love to look back as a film and TV enthusiast and kind of look back and reflect on the year on how good it was for film and TV. So that's what we're doing today. If you are interested in film and TV analysis, review, and all that whatnot, I recommend checking my blog. But at the same time, I love video making, and there's no way I couldn't somehow include my love for film and TV on this channel. So I figured we could do it in a way that doesn't seem too far off from my channel and do my makeup while doing it. So I have my mirror right here, and I have you right here, and I have my notes right here. So we're gonna talk about 2021 overall. I have 5 things to talk about, but yeah, let's just jump right into this.
I feel like this goes without saying, but major spoiler alert, I will be discussing everything in this video in detail. So if you haven't seen something, definitely check the description for timestamps so you can skip whatever you need to skip, or just listen to whatever you are interested in.
I'm not going to be going in depth on the products I use and why I use them, but actually I'm going to link below a blog post with all the links to the products I use and why I use them. First, we're going to tie my hair back, but first I think we should talk about Cruella.
I haven't seen the sun in a while, and I miss your side.
Actually did a blog post on Cruella. It is a very quick read in case I missed anything, so if you're interested. Now, I was very anxious to see Cruella. If you know me, or any Disney fan, or anybody on planet Earth, you would know how annoying these Disney remakes are. So not only was the fact that it was a live action adaptation of an animated character that made me nervous, but also Maleficent was a live action remake following a villain, which was fun because at the time we hadn't really seen that before at the time. And basically the movie redeemed Maleficent. Now that doesn't make Sleeping Beauty not like canon in its own right. It's just a fun alternate retelling. I get that, but it redeemed our villain. So Cruella made me nervous because I was nervous they do the same thing that they did with Maleficent, because redeeming a villain's good the first time, but I don't want all my Disney villains to be redeemed in any way, shape, or form, you know? I love my Disney villains, especially Cruella de Vil. Like, she has an entire song, if she doesn't scare you, no evil thing will. So yeah, I feel like Cruella, especially in 101 Dalmatians, was supposed to be seen as just this evil, despicable human being that's just, that hatred and evil is just rooted in her heart. That's just who she is. I am happy to report I was very relieved while watching it. They didn't redeem Cruella, and I think a big part of how that played out was because Cruella isn't necessarily a remake of 101 Dalmatians. It is an origin story. And compared to Maleficent, this is kind of a big deal because Maleficent told the story of Sleeping Beauty from her point of view. While in Cruella, it was simply an origin story of how Cruella de Vil came about. So given the context of Cruella, we are still made to believe that the events of 101 Dalmatians happened. They 100% happened, they're canon, in the way that we saw them. They didn't have a chance to really redeem Cruella. I don't know if this is unpopular opinion or not. It's probably not, but I don't always need to see an origin story for a villain. I don't always need to see why villain, and I get like the premise of like hurt people, blah, blah, blah. Bullies are just insecure, whatever. But sometimes I just want the villain to be a scary person. And I feel like they kind of tried that with Cruella. They kind of tried to give off the vibe that her personality was always kind of in her. In the beginning of the movie, you know, when she got in trouble a lot, blah, 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 never listened. But I feel like she was just more of a crazy, edgy kid than she was necessarily an evil kid. And honestly, I would have loved to have seen that. To have like a Disney villain origin story and like just to show us that she was like psychotic the entire time. But no, instead they made her mom die. By the way,
Oh, she passed away? Oh. All right.
So we kind of covered the bases of the typical I'm scared for this remake type of thing. But I also want to point out that one of the main things I noticed about this movie is that it's very aesthetically driven. You can tell they kind of thought of their vision for the movie first instead of the story. story was kind of weak, I'm not gonna lie. And I feel like that's fun because out of all the Disney villains, I can tell they wanted to create a film for Cruella because of her aesthetic and her personality and her attitude. The black and white, the dog fur, the red lip, just the red in general. That's a very fun thing to play with. So I can tell they kind of had like a vibe for the film before they really started like creating like the story necessarily. All right, next we're gonna talk about Luca. Soul was really good, so I was actually really excited to see this movie. And the first thing after watching this movie that I realized very quickly, and that I feel like this is a very common criticism of this movie, is that the stakes are very low. I wouldn't say it's a criticism, because sometimes you just need a cute little lighthearted movie, and given the fantastical elements of the film, you know, sea monster turning into human scared of sea monster, blah blah blah, exploring the world, I feel like I was expecting more higher stakes, but again, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. So I don't see a lot of people talking about this. Let me know if you have, because I would love to know, like, watch any videos about this. Alberto freaks me out. I want to love Alberto. I do love Alberto, but I mean, he kind of freaked me out. He was like very toxic and possessive in this movie, like, but I feel like he was well-meaning. Like, for example, he wasn't lying to Luca about the world. He was just simply incorrect about a lot of things. But I feel like the false information that he gave Luca kind of kept Luca under Alberto's control. It seemed he was very manipulative at times, kind of very possessive, especially when Luca started making friends and stuff. When Luca started to pursue things other than Alberto's dream. Alberto had nobody. He lost his dad, and I feel like he just didn't want to lose Luca. I'm not justifying his actions, by the way. I'm just trying to rationalize them. I felt bad for him when Luca betrayed him, of course. It was kind of called for because Alberto was not being a good friend to Luca. So please let me know what you thought about Alberto and how he treated Luca and all that whatnot, because I would love to know. Again, I love Alberto, and he did kind of come around in the end. I just wasn't sure if it was supposed to go as far as it did or if that was intentional. Okay. Next topic. Y'all, we can't talk about 2021 without talking about Squid Game. Oh my gosh. Given that the content's everywhere, I understand why people aren't watching it, because it's kind of like, is it that good? Let me just tell you right now though, it's not a Riverdale situation. This show is good. It's popular because it is good. It's genuinely a quality show. The character development was insane in this show. Every single character in this show you would truly believe is a person. They're just so carved out and complex. Even some of the background ones. This show was insane though, because it's the type of show that you have to watch a second time, and that's very rare, you know? Like, you don't always have to rewatch stuff. It's almost like The Sixth Sense in that sense, to where, you know, once you see the twist in The Sixth Sense, you want to rewatch it and see all the detail. And even though there is a big twist at the end that you can rewatch and see kind of everything leading up to the twist and like why the twist makes sense, but it's not just the twist. What I feel like on your first viewing, you're so focused on the plot and just everything that's going on, the games, that you're not focusing on these little details and just the sets and stuff. But on your second viewing, you can, because you know what's happening, so you're able to kind of see everything play out, and it adds so much to how the eeriness of the world and the creepiness of the games. I love it. One example of that is that the games are on the wall. I did not notice that until I saw YouTube videos, until I rewatched, because and that adds so much. Like, the games were on the wall the whole time. Like, they were there, and as they start taking away the beds, they were all there. It's insane to me, but yeah, this show is so good. Another thought I have in my notes, spoiler alert, the cop's not dead, guys. They gave all the signs, and I'm not just like a Cops, even though I am a Cops stan. Season 2, I believe, has been confirmed, and I feel like Season 2 is inevitable because of the success of the show. I'm kind of nervous, I'm not gonna lie though. My question is, how would they structure it? Because I feel like Squid Game had a really nice structure to where it started with the games and it ended with the games. But yeah, actually I was expecting, when I was first watching Squid Game, for it to be more of a 6 episodes thing. because I thought it would start, you know, be 1 episode per game, which they kind of, for the most part, loosely stick to the 1 game per episode type of thing, which I feel like is really nice because, again, I just really like it when shows have a structure, so audiences know when it's going to start and when it's going to end, and we're pretty much just watching to see how it's going to play out. Because we know we're going to see up to the 6th game. We know for a fact. And I feel like that's because we know Jaehoon's going to make it too. Jihoon, I'm so sorry. I love how they reveal details more and more. Like, for example, when the cop was looking through the game files and the winners were shown, you know, up until that point, we were put under the impression that in theory, multiple people could win the games, but I feel like seeing that there is 1 winner for every game of the past, really, man, it hit my heart so bad. It like felt like someone punched me and knocked the wind out of me when I realized there can only be 1 winner of the games, which you could kind of in theory see coming, but like, you know, you want to hope. But yeah, so my question is, with season 2, how are they going to structure it? Because here, let's take the conversation back a little bit. Let's talk about the Hunger Games. So the Hunger Games had a very specific structure. The first half or first part or something about the book involved kind of leading up to the games. The raping, Katniss volunteering, blah, blah, blah. The interviews, the meals, the press, all that stuff leading up to the Hunger Games. And the second part of the book is when the games begin. Suzanne Collins was like, what am I gonna do with the second book? You can read that. You can literally read it in Catching Fire. Spoiler alert for the Hunger Games. Catching Fire, you know, they go back to the games. They do the games again. And I feel like Catching Fire sent Katniss back to the games for a very specific reason, and that was because just to keep up the integrity of the first book. I feel like what else are you gonna do, you know? So Squid Game, I don't know if I doubt there's any possible way for Jaehoon to go back into the games. I highly doubt it. So it kind of just begs the question, how are they going to keep up the hype and the feeling of the first season while not going back to the games? And also another important thing to factor in is the characters. They'd have to write new characters, new amazing characters that hold up to the first ones, because the background characters are a big reason why a lot of us watch, even the crazy girl that got on everybody's nerves. So, you know, it just kind of begs the question, you know, how is season 2 gonna play out? You know, given that he probably won't be playing Squid Games anymore, and all the characters that we love from the first season are no longer there. We're gonna pick it up to a lighter note with another Disney movie. I actually really like how I'm doing this. I'm kind of sandwiching Squid Game, which is a lot on the heart, in with a few little lighthearted Disney movies.
Morning, Abuelo.
If you want to see more in-depth review of Encanto, I will be putting my blog post in the description. First, I want to talk about the songs. We haven't gotten a Disney animated movie with songs in so long. So, you know how, like, you can immediately tell when a score was written by Lin-Manuel Miranda? You just can. You can hear him in everything he does, I swear to God. And if you don't know who Lin-Manuel Miranda is, he wrote Hamilton, In the Heights, Moana. He was involved in Moana. By the way, I'm really messy with my mascara, and I don't have a lash curler, which I'm really upset about. I love the second song of the movie. I don't remember the name of it, but it is pretty good. Bruno was a bop. We don't talk about Bruno. I feel like it's a very relatable story, though. I feel like there's a lot of pressure to think about what you can offer your family, if that makes sense. And it kind of shows that wanting to make your family proud, wanting your family to succeed can be just as superficial as wanting yourself to succeed. Because a family is kind of like a made up, like, fake concept. What is a family, you know? What is a family as a unit? It's not a tangible thing you can keep up, if that makes sense. But the people in it are people in it. So it's kind of like, what is worrying about the success of the family unit without caring about the people in it, if that makes sense. I feel like it was just a really interesting lesson. I feel like Disney and Pixar both have been diving into very interesting themes in their movies. I love their choice of sisters they spotlighted. I wouldn't have had it any other way. And they gave each member of the family their own spotlight in their own right, which made me happy. Oh, one thing I want to talk about with this movie is the their use of perspective, if that makes sense. We start out and we see Maribel's perspective of living in this amazing magical family and not having a gift of her own. And then we get to see the sisters' perspectives, that their magical powers kind of give them pressure to do the family proud, and that it's not as, the grass isn't exactly greener on the other side, you know? Then we get to see Bruno's perspective, which was he had a gift that wasn't seemingly serving the family well, and that was seen as like bad luck or something. You know, he had a gift that kind of hurt the family in a sense, when in reality it's like, don't blame the messenger. You know, the future is the future, y'all. Like, why are you blaming Bruno for your future? If anything, I'd be happy if I had a family member who could tell the bad events that was happening in the future, you know, like warn me. We got to see Bruno's perspective, which kind of let us see that Bruno's perspective of a power that wasn't so very loved. So we got 3 different perspectives of the same family in the same situation, and no one's happy. So when you can see through 3 different people's eyes and nobody's happy, that's when there's a problem. And this movie really explored that, and I'm kind of for it. I love it. All right, last thing we're gonna talk about today is Raya and the Last Dragon. First thing, beautiful movie. I absolutely loved it. The story was amazing. The story and the world that they created was absolutely amazing, and I feel like it could have made its own TV series. And they really did cut right to the chase. They kind of started with like a prologue, gave us the necessary details, gave us the sitch, and then they jumped right in and she went straight to finding Sisu. In fact, I feel like this movie was very fast-paced, and that's kind of interesting to think about because it had like it had a good runtime. It had a long runtime. I feel like I didn't get the chance to fall in love with the characters in this movie. Most of the focus was put on Raya and Amari and Sisu. I feel like I got to know Kid Raya, like little Raya, and her father a lot in the movie. I feel like they took the time to develop that relationship, but after that they kind of ditched it. I didn't really get to know adult Raya that much, and I didn't really get to know Namari that much as an adult. Basically, the prologue really set the stage for the characters. As for all the background characters, the entire squad, heck, Sisu, you know, they made her very kind of one-dimensional. I feel like if they would have spent a little more time in that movie just working on those relationships between those characters and really just developing those relationships, it would have been better, and I would have loved the characters more. But at the same time, you know, the story was pretty ambitious and the story was pretty strong, you know? I wish we got to see, I mean, we did get to see this kind of at the end of the movie, but I wish we got to see kind of Raya's little squad as more of a unit together. I wish we would have seen Raya get close with each and every member more. Another critique I kind of have for this movie is there wasn't too much of an internal motivation for Raya. You know, she's kind of just given, you know, save my dad, save the world. Boom, that's my motivation. Similar with Namari, I think would have been interesting is to explore possibly her guilt for possibly trusting Namari. I feel like this movie would have benefited by giving Raya some intrinsic motivation. Something kind of within her heart that's calling her to save the world, you know, like more of a personal arc. She's not really given much of one, except for learn to trust people, you know? Readings from my phone. It looks very much more blurry. I'm sorry about that. I only had a few more things to say though when we're on the last topic, so everything's kind of checking out. Let's say Raya felt personal guilt for her dad being turned to stone. Let's say she thinks it's her fault. And let's say Namari could have felt the same way. Or Namari felt pressure from Fang and her mother to right her wrong, you know? We could have made her mother more of an antagonist. Could have had Namari just feel a lot of pressure since she was young to do what's best for her kingdom. Even as a young kid, she was part of that plan to do what's best for her kingdom, you know, all that whatnot. And then maybe at the end they could have connected over that. You know, I feel like just having more of a personal arc and personal goal could have really improved this movie. And given the plot was so intense, you know, they were trying to literally save the world, that they didn't need much intrinsic motivation. You know, sometimes in daily life we don't need much of a personal, internal, like, drive to do something. But, you know, a movie's always better when inside the character there's like an added motive, you know what I mean? Alright, and that is the finished look. and we just finished chatting, so I think it's all kind of shaping up. Alright, so that was my little recap of 2021 while doing my makeup. I would love to make this more of like a series on my channel. I would love to include this a little more in my channel. You know, little makeup and media moment. What I want you to do this video is just give me all of your thoughts. Thoughts on this video, thoughts on this type of video, thoughts on each of the movies I discussed, thoughts on Squid Game, whether you agreed or disagreed with me on some things. Just let me know all of it. Again, if you love film and TV like me, please check out my blog. I feel like you'd like it a lot. Again, it's a free Wix domain that was given to me. Just bypass that part, you know, just ignore that. Again, every product I use will be linked in the description under a blog post of every makeup product I use too. Again, I have a blog post on Cruella. If you're interested in reading my blog post on Encanto, I kind of go more in depth there. Again, in the description, everything's in the description. If you want any more information on anything, check the description. That's where it will be. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please click the button and let me know that you liked it. And if you like me, please subscribe. I do lifestyle type content on this channel, but also I love Disney and just movies and films. So that definitely leaks into this channel here and there, given this video. And yeah, again, thank you so much for watching.